we're going to dive into exactly the time frame of when you need to get money for your business. And it's actually different. Hint, it's different for each kind of financing that you may get. Revolving, you may want to get at a different time than you actually get a loan. But today, that's exactly what we're going to talk about, is when is the best time for you to actually get money for your business, so you know when to apply based on rates and based on all these other factors. And that way you can get the maximum money to grow your business and have it ready when you actually need to have the money available. So before we jump in too far, I want to make sure that I mention our $1 Million Business Challenge that is taking place the end of this month, September 27th, we actually start. And this challenge is all about helping somebody go from a startup or six-figure business to building a seven-figure business. So if you're looking to build a $1 million business, check it out at $1,000,000businesschallenge.com. It's a 100% free event. So make sure you register right now at $1,000,000businesschallenge.com. So that being said, let's talk about when is the right time to get money. Look, a lot of things are changing right now. The economy is shifting. Consumer demand is shifting. Consumer confidence is shifting. Interest rates are sky high compared to where they are a year ago. So there's all these new factors that really get us to ask the question of, like, when is the right time for you to actually get money for your business? Speaking of your business, tell me in chat the actual name of your business. I'll give you a shout out right here on the live stream. And it seemed like thousands or tens of thousands or sometimes hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of people. So just go ahead and type your name in here and I'll give you a shout out here on the live stream. So the question is, with all these factors and all these things constantly changing, a lot of changes this year, more than we've seen in the last, when is the right time to actually get funding for your business? Well, the short answer, depending on what type of funding you're getting, is potentially yesterday. You need to make sure that you're always overcapitalized, not undercapitalized. And what I mean by that is that when the first thing you want to consider when it's time to get money for your business is that you never want to be in a desperate place to go get money. It is always when things will be worse for you. What I mean by that is that lenders and credit issuers have a tendency, especially lenders, to have a less desire to lend when people really need the money, right? And that's why we hear this old adage that, it's hard to get the money when you actually need it. Well, the reason is because a lot of people wait till it gets too far gone to try to go get that money. They're already seeing dips in revenue. They've already used up all of their cash in hand. Their bank account is already dry. They're already starting to see decline in profit, decline in revenue. And these are things that lenders and credit issuers do not want to see. What lenders and credit issuers are primarily looking for is your ability to repay the money that they give you. It's the number one factor. All the documentation they ask you for, every question on an application, almost everything they're asking you to supply them is just so they can best determine the likelihood that you will repay them. So when they see a business on the decline, when they see a business that is not paying its own bills, you're going late on accounts in your business credit reports, or you're starting to see a decline in the money in your bank account, or a decline in the money going into your bank account, these are the things they don't want to see. So this is one of the reasons you want to get money before this starts to happen. Get the money to be able to prevent that even from happening. So again, if you even think anything is going to change, or you're starting to feel an impact of what's happening with the changing economy, you need to really consider getting money right now before it starts to affect your sales, your revenue, and your profits. Because once you start to see that decline, it's not impossible to get funding. You can still get it, but it's harder to get the money you need. You're going to have less likelihood of getting the amount of money you could got without that decline, and you're probably going to pay worse terms. So one of the first times to get money is before you actually need it. You want to get it before declines in revenue, before declines in profits. So what this means is, it means if you have it already, you probably want to consider doing that now if you're seeing an impact on the change in the economy. But the other thing is, you want to keep an eye on what's actually changing. Look, all the things to do with an economic shift or going into a recession per se, you can clearly see there are all kinds of indicators that tell you that these kind of things are happening. We hear it on the news all the time. So when you start to know that these things are shifting, where consumer demand is going to potentially decrease, consumer confidence is going to decrease, we're going to potentially see a slowdown in sales, that is the best time before it happens to actually start stocking up on cash. And CJ says, hey, is there a way to leverage smaller loans during cash flow declines? Yeah, there's a way to leverage all kind of financing in cash flow declines. And that's the whole point. I think CJ made a great point. I'm going to throw it up right now. The point is that you want to get money to avoid cash flow declines, right? So for example, when the economy shifts, so let's say we get into a recession, what we see is a lot of people pull back from spending money in marketing. They stop doing Facebook ads. They stop doing Google ads. So what typically happens in a real recession is that we see prices drop in those ad channels because demand has dropped. Now, again, that's might not be happening in the early stages like right now of an economic shift, but when you're in the middle of an economic shift, we clearly see those as opportunities, right? A lot of people are pulling back from advertising costs drop, and it's a great opportunity for you to come in and actually spend money when others are and pick up that market share from competitors who are no longer advertising because things have changed. And again, make up for what you might have actually seen as a decline. Now, that's just one example, but the bottom line is you should have the cash that you need on hand. So then that way you can avoid declines, right? You can actually come in and avoid your revenue from ever dropping because you see what's going to happen in the future and you're making adjustments before that actually happens. You're deploying a plan to keep yourself from even having a decline whatsoever. So CJ, great question. If you have a question, type it in. And by the way, give me your company name and I'll give you a shout out here right on the live stream as well. So again, we don't want to overthink this. The bottom line is companies of all sizes need money, right? So if we look at this and I pull Walmart's business credit report or I pull Apple's business credit report, you're going to see they have hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. They have more cash on hand than they have in debt. So again, if there's a reason that Apple sits on 130 billion in cash and 100 billion in debt, there's a reason Apple's not choosing to pay off that 100 billion in debt with the 130 billion in cash they have. All companies of all sizes take debt. It's how they become as big as they are. As a matter of fact, the bigger players out there, the Walmart and Apples of the world, they're doing it better than we are. It's why they're as big as they are. It's why these companies are wildly successful. When you pull business credit reports from the biggest privately owned and publicly owned companies that exist, they're all borrowing money. They're better at it than we are. It's why they're as big as they are. So remember, mastering OPM, other people's money, and strategically using debt to be able to grow your company is a really smart thing to do. Unlike in the consumer world, we probably don't want to go crazy with 20, 30% interest credit card debt, right? But in the business world, that's how the biggest companies get to be the biggest companies they are. So we want to think about that as well. Don't overthink that and think that you're in a bad position because you're borrowing money. You should be borrowing money. It's what the most successful of companies do. Now, the other thing you want to think about is what is your cash flow? What is your cash flow like? Do you see a decline in cash flow? Are you declining in cash flow right now? Do you predict that cash flow will decline? If so, then you want to get ahead of that. You want to develop a marketing strategy that's going to help you not see a dip or decline in cash flow. And then you want to make sure you understand the funding needs of that marketing strategy. So again, if I'm going to come in and I'm going to spend 10 or 20% more on Facebook ads because I know I'm expecting a decline and that should offset the decline I'm expecting, then again, I want to make sure that I'm preparing to get the financing I need to cover that actual potential decline so the decline never takes place whatsoever, okay? Now, again, there's a lot of reasons we got to look at of why we would actually get the money to begin with. So, for example, do we just want to have money available for the unknown? If the answer is yes, then we want to stock up on revolving credit. We need to be using business credit to get credit lines at almost every major vendor. We need to be going and getting credit lines through places like Fundbox or Bluevine or other alternative lenders because revolving credit doesn't cost us anything unless we're using it. So I can get a credit line for $100,000 like I have with Fundbox. I have a credit line with $100,000 at Fundbox. I don't use it. It just sits there. But whenever things start to shift in the economy, we start to put all of our money on that credit line until we get a grasp of what's going on. Then we pay off the credit line when we know we're stable. And we then in doing so, we have more cash on hand because we're moving our expenses to a credit line. But again, it doesn't cost us anything to have that credit line available if we're not using it. So you should be getting revolving credit cards. You should be getting credit lines before you actually need the money. As a matter of fact, whenever rates are at their lowest, this is what you should be doing. And yeah, I talked about that last year before rates started going up, and I still suggest you do the same thing. So you should be getting revolving credit right now, no matter what the rates are. But when we start to see rates drop in the years that will come, then you really need, when rates are low, to stock up on as much revolving credit as you can get. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of credit lines are variable rates, right? They're ARM rates. So it doesn't really matter. They're going to fluctuate based on whatever the current rates are at the time. But again, by coming in and making sure you have access to revolving credit, that way when you do need it, it's available. And unlike loans, you're not making payments on money that you're not actually using. And Tanya, Thanks for coming in. And Wesley says, hey, what's a specific site that we can go to pull these companies' profiles like Apple, Walmart, etc.? Well, you can go to the best place to go to Dun & Bradstreet. So if you type in Dun & Bradstreet Business Credit Report, you'll find a link to go right to D&B's website. And the very first question they're going to ask you is, do you want to pull a credit report for your company or somebody else's company? And you can pay individually for each company that you get, or you can buy bundles of companies. Keep in mind, business credit reports are publicly accessible. So, for example, way back in the day when we had Hillary Clinton running against Donald Trump for president, I actually had a live stream where I looked at both of their companies' business credit reports. Those are pretty high-end figures when they're running for president, and I'm able to access their business credit reports. So you can access business credit reports on any company that you want to, your own, a competitor, a client, a potential client, even the biggest companies that are out there today. So DL, thanks for coming in. So go to Dun & Bradstreet. It's the best place for you to actually be able to grab those credit reports, Wesley. So the next thing is why are we looking for funding? Are we looking for funding for expansion? Are we not looking for funding for growth, but we're not looking for funding for stability, but we're actually looking to expand. We're actually looking to grow. Okay, in that case, again, it makes sense for us to have credit lines and business credit cards as early as possible, but now we may want to actually get a loan. Meaning if we have a specific purpose, and especially if that purpose is growth, now is the time we really want to start considering a loan. And let me give you a tip. Interest rate really doesn't matter. We're all victim to whatever the interest rate is going to be, depending on what the Fed is doing. When the Fed is raised the rate radically as they have over the last 2 years, we're all going to pay higher interest rates, whether we like it or not. The good news is that we can write off all that interest and get it back on our taxes. We get all that money back anyways. And again, the even better news is are you going to use that money to do something that's going to give you even greater return than the money is costing you? I'm going to give you an example. The highest interest rate I've ever seen somebody pay on a loan is 65%. Yeah, 65%. Absurd, right? The guy was so ecstatic and so happy. I don't know if I've seen somebody as happy to get money as what this guy was. So why is somebody happy to pay 65% interest? Simple. Because the guy was not a really good lendable candidate. He had bad credit. His financials were a mess. He was lucky to get financing, and he knew it. That's why he paid such a high interest, because his risk was so high. But what the guy was doing was he was buying a piece of equipment that is a de-stumper for golf courses. It pulls the stumps out of the ground. Now, the reason the guy was ecstatic is he was manually paying people to do this work before he got the equipment financing to buy this de-stumper. So even with 65% interest, it still saved him $10,000 a month. That's why he was ecstatic. If you save $10,000 a month, did one thing to save you 10 grand a month, you'd probably be ecstatic too, right? And he doesn't care about the interest because he writes it off at the end of the year. But this is an example of him doing something that's going to lower his overall expenses, so it makes sense for him to borrow the money. I had another client that came in and did the same thing with soft drinks. They are a soft drink manufacturer. They make drinks, but they used to outsource all the bottling of their drinks. They wanted to borrow money, more expensive money, because they were high risk as well, to bring that bottling in-house. Now, even paying the higher cost for the money, they still saved a ton of money by bringing that in-house. So if you are going to do something, especially that is maybe an acquisition or making a move in your business that will lower your overall expenses, that's a good time to consider a loan. Because even paying the cost of the loan, even if it is 65%, which you obviously wouldn't be, but then you're still saving a ton of money because of whatever you're doing is lowering your overall expenses. Now, again, the other thing to think about here is expansion and growth. Meaning that if you are going to use that money to do something that is going to grow the business, then it may be worth going and getting a loan to do that thing. Maybe you're going to make an acquisition of a competitor. Maybe you're going to make an acquisition of a piece of your business that you don't currently have that you can use money to bring in-house, like the soft drink manufacturer that brought that part of their process in-house. You probably have things you're paying for, whether it be software or CRMs or any other thing that you might be able to do in-house cheaper than actually outsourcing it. So again, if you actually have a marketing and growth plan, that means you can use X amount of dollars and do this thing and increase your sales. Well, that's a good time to consider a loan, especially when the economy shifts and less people are spending money on advertising. It gives you a very important window to get in and grab up that market share, grab cheaper priced ads, and be able to actually go and expand. This is exactly how Credit Suite ever got our first loan. We deployed our first loan because we had an opportunity to get these leads from a lender that were their turn downs. So we got an office and we created a call center type of environment. And then we also came in and we started doing Facebook ads. And I don't remember at the time, but we did a third thing as well. Well, 2 of the 3 things didn't work. One of the third things did work, and we got considerably more return than the money actually cost us to borrow. And we paid off that loan early, and the paying off of that loan helped catapult us to making it very easy for us to get future SBA loans as well. So we didn't have a problem paying higher price money to get a quick loan because we knew we were going to use the loan for something that was going to grow the business. We had multiple marketing strategies that we had tested that we were getting ready to deploy. And even when some of them didn't work, which they didn't, the ones that did work made it make sense for us. So again, taking the money and using it for expansion and growth, that's a good reason to have credit lines available in case you want to take advantage of those opportunities. But it's also a really good time to borrow money and take loans as well when you know you're going to get a positive return. Now, you don't want to probably do the same thing if you're in a seasonal business. So if you are a ski slope, in the summer, you don't want to go get high price money to get through a downtime. That's not a good use of that money. You might use a credit line. By the way, SBA has seasonal credit lines for that same purpose, but I wouldn't go get a loan, especially with the higher interest rate, to get money to carry me through a down season. I would get money to get a loan, even it is a higher interest rate to shorter term. If I'm going to use that money to get extra return, I know I can invest 10 grand and make 15 grand or 20 grand in sales by increasing my Facebook ads. Then that might make sense to actually come in and do. Okay, and Wesley says, hey, so when we want to grow, we should think about getting a loan. Can you talk about the length of the loan via short-term versus long-term and benefits and drawbacks? Wesley, I mean, it's like Wesley works for us. He's offered the best questions ever today. So look, great question, Wesley, and this is what it comes down to. You should be having access to money to grow at any given time. And let me give you a couple examples here. So if we look at Apple, the reason Apple has 100 billion in cash or 100 billion in debt is because what they do is they use their cash for research and development, and they use their cash to open up new stores. They are using their cash for the purpose of expansion. Walmart is the same way. Walmart uses business credit to fill the stuff on their shelves, and they use their cash to actually go in and open up new stores. So you should always be really looking at getting access to money and having it ready for expansion. One of the best quotes I've ever heard is that success happens when opportunity meets preparation. So what I mean by that is that if you are prepared and opportunities present themselves, you want to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. One of my buddies owns a reputation management company. He's buying another one right now because this older guy that runs it says, I'm done. The economy's shifting. I don't want to be doing this anymore. He's got the perfect opportunity to buy his perfect dream company to double the size of his business, but he needs to be ready to go right now with the capital. Well, he has access to the capital, so he's able to take advantage of that opportunity. You want to do the same thing. By having access to revolving credit, you are better positioned to take advantage of opportunities when they come up. And when you know an opportunity is going to come up or you know things are shifting, that is when you actually want to come in and get a loan. Now, Wesley brings up the most valuable point that has been mentioned here so far. And what Wesley says is, hey, talk to me about via short-term versus long-term money. And I can tell you this. The term of a loan is way more valuable to you than interest ever will be. Meaning if I am given a choice between paying double the interest or getting double the term on the loan, I will always choose double the term. And the term is how long the loan is for. The reason the term matters so much is because that has more impact on your payment than interest rate does. So you always want to get the longest term financing you can actually get, because the longer the term, the more money you're able to get and the lower your payments will be. Now, let me give you an example of this. There's a really, really good type of financing out there called revenue lending. When you first get revenue lending, it's money in 72 hours. Your credit can be bad. You don't need collateral. You just need consistent revenue for 6 to 12 months. If you have that, you can get a loan based just on your revenue. Well, if you get a loan just based on your revenue, the first time you get this loan, you're going to pay a higher interest rate. You're going to get a very short term. But when you pay off half of that loan, they will offer you another loan with a lower interest rate and a way longer term. And so now if I come in and borrow $50,000 and I pay down $25,000, and let's say my payment is $5,000 a month, well, then I could probably get another $50,000 and only have my payment go up $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month. So now I'm getting double the money, but my payment only went up $1,000 or $2,000 instead of another $5,000. The reason this happens is because they're giving me a much longer term the second time I get that loan. So it's okay to get financing the first time around and pay a shorter term and higher interest rate. That's how you prove yourself to lenders that you are going to pay the money back. But you're rewarded when you have paid the money back by them giving you a longer term financing behind that. And the more you do this, typically the longer the term gets on that, where you go from 6-month term to 12 months to 18 months to 2 years, up to maybe sometimes 3 years or even 5 years. And that long term helps you borrow more money and keep your payments very low. That's why we all want SBA loans. SBA loans are 15, 20, or 30-year terms. So let me give you an example of why this matters so much. The very first loan we ever got, keep track of this math, was $75,000. And for $75,000, our payment was $9,000 a month because the term was very short. I think it was a 2-year loan term, maybe 3. The loan term was short, so we borrowed 75 grand and we paid 9 grand a month. Now, the second loan we got was for $325,000. So it was for $250,000 more, and our payment was $4,600 a month. So our payment was half to be able to borrow $325,000 or $250,000 more than we did. So how do you borrow another $250,000 and cut your payments in half? That's 100% a result of term. We got like a 20-year term on the first loan and a 2-year term on the first. So that is why term matters so much. It's why we all want to make sure we build business credit, improve our consumer credit, get tax returns that show profit, and acquire some kind of assets of value in our business. Because when we do that stuff, then we can go get SBA loans, and SBA loans give us a longer term and the lower payment. So Wesley, hopefully that helps you there as well. And Sean says, hey, WM Hecktail Inc., Elizabeth City, North Carolina. I appreciate that. We said again, WM Hecktail, I think I said that right. WM Hecktail Inc. From Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Sean, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. So again, now we know that we want to get loans for expansion and growth. We want to get loans for marketing. We want to have credit lines and business credit cards available for opportunities. We want to get those whenever we can. We want to have those available for us to get us through unexpected times and help with unexpected expenses. The other thing is that we also want to focus on new technology. Look, if we have an opportunity to do things that will save us money longer term, on the technology front, we want to do it. Let me give you an example. Okay, we use Zendesk for our customer support. Zendesk, like most software companies, when we approach them and say, is there a way to lower our payment? They will say, yes, there is. If you pay the annual payment instead of monthly, then you'll save like a stupid amount of money. A lot of these software companies, you could save 30 to 60% off of your bill just by paying an annual payment versus a monthly payment. So this may make sense for us. If I look at the math, my cost for borrowing the money may be considerably less than I would spend if I'm paying monthly to a software company and paying annually. So in that case, hey, I don't know, maybe I'm going to get a loan, just pay this thing off, pay off all my software that I'm paying monthly on, pay it, get a massive discount because I paid the annual rate instead of monthly. I lower my monthly terms in the short term as well, save a ton of money. So this is an example of how we might want to invest in technology. There might be other technology we can invest in to be able to grow our business even faster. So for example, we use Profit Lifter, and Profit Lifter is like an all-in-one automation, basically business management system for business. It handles campaigns and appointment setting and email campaigns and automation, all the things you need to market and grow a business. Your landing pages are in there, your website's on there, everything is in Profit Lifter. So if I'm a startup and I know I take Profit Lifter and I have all that automation built and I can immediately start doing Facebook ads and grow my company, that may make sense for me to take borrowed money and use it to get it if I don't have cash on hand, because I know the minute I set up that automation, I'm going to start running Facebook ads. I'm going to start getting a rate of return. So there's a million of these examples, but when you have an opportunity to take advantage of software that can actually grow your business, it's yet one more reason that you really want to consider actually getting the funds that you may need. And this may be one of the things that you're actually getting a loan for. Now, again, what are some of the downsides here? Don't wait too long. Okay, you don't want to wait too long. A lot of people that didn't get money last year are paying double the payments they would have paid because interest rates have been raised that much. This is why when interest rates are low, you should stock up on all the revolving credit you should get. And no matter what interest rates are, you should take advantage of loans when you know you're going to invest the money to get a rate of return. But you don't want to wait too long. Again, you don't want to wait till you're in trouble. You don't want to wait until you really need the money. That's when lenders are less likely to actually give you the money. And you definitely don't want to wait till your sales are declining, your revenue is declining, your profits are declining, the money into your bank account is declining. All those things are imminent. Here's the interesting thing about running a business. We know, you and I know that this is cyclical. We know it. We know that the economy does this. We know it. It's 100% certain, which means that when we're on top, we know we're going to hit a trough. There's no guessing. The only guessing is what the time frame is for us to get to the peak to the next trough. We know it's happening. And anybody that's went through one of these before, like I did in the mortgage crisis, we know to be prepared and plan ahead, not to be responsive, then be reactive, but be proactive. That's the best lesson I can give you with money, is that you are going to hit, no matter how high of a high you are in a business, you are going to see a drop. And when you see that drop, you need to have the finances to make sure in a plan that you can reduce that drop as much as possible, because you're able to do these type of things that we're talking about today. Again, what you don't want to do is prolong innovation, not take advantage of software because you don't have the money, or miss opportunities you have to be able to get in right now and start advertising or taking advantage of a growth opportunity or an acquisition because you don't have the money that you actually need, or see the business fail because now you desperately need money and you didn't get it when you weren't desperate, and now nobody will lend to you because you're desperate. Another reason you may need money is just increased competition, right? We may see more people coming into your space. I see this. When I started in the business credit space, nobody was talking about business credit. Nobody. Like, it was not even a thing. And now that I've been talking about this for 10 years, there's a lot of people out there selling $27 kits on TikTok and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's not really that effective. So the problem there is that we have a lot more competition. Now, we have to have a better strategy to deploy in a market where we've got a lot of competitors versus a market where we don't. You do as well. So what is your plan? What is your strategy to be able to outrun, outlast, outsucceed those competitors? Whatever that may be, that is something that you really want to be financially prepared for, because more than likely you're going to have to spend money to make money. Maybe it's doing a challenge. Okay, challenges are really effective ways of driving sales and revenue. Well, a challenge takes money to do, but has massive reward if you do it. But again, you might say, look, my competition's increasing. I want to beat them. I'm going to do a challenge every quarter. And I'm going to expect that I can make $100,000 on that challenge. And now I'm making $300,000 or $400,000 extra this year because of that. But it takes money to do that. And that's where you want to be financially prepared. So don't get overrun by competitors. See that you've got new big competitors coming to space. Have a marketing strategy and plan, and make sure you have the capital to implement that. The revolving credit you have just at hand when you need it, or going out and getting loans specifically for the purpose of being able to do that. Now, the other thing is strained personal finances. Things might be happening in your personal world that cause problems where you're maybe no longer able to personally be able to back the business. Maybe you take a hit. Now your personal credit is no longer in a position where you can go borrow money. This is another problem with you waiting too long. Because if you are experiencing personal strain on the personal financial strain, then that's going to adversely affect your FICO score, and that's going to adversely affect your ability to get some of the best loans that are out there. Yeah, a lot of the loans out there, like SBA, are going to look at your personal credit. And if you know you're getting over leveraged on the consumer side and 30% of your FICO score is based on utilization, you got problems. If you wait too long, you're going to put money on personal credit cards and increase your balances. That's going to lower your scores. Now you go get a business loan, and it's not too late to get it, but you're going to get way less money and a way higher interest rate than you would have if you would have come in and applied with your credit score being good. That's one of the other problems of waiting too long, is when you start to experience personal strain, you need to get the financing before bad things happen, because when the worse that gets on the personal side, the more it's going to adversely affect your credit, and the more it's going to adversely affect your ability to actually come in and get the money that you need as well. So look, funding isn't just extra money to have on hand or use. It's to be used strategically for the growth of your business. And my best rules here in summary are: get as much revolving credit as you can right now. There's zero reason you shouldn't be doing that, because you don't pay on the money unless you're actually using it. Get credit cards at every major retailer that exists based on your business credit quality, not personal guarantee, not personal credit check. Get any other kind of loan or credit or any other kind of credit line you can access to have available, have it available. We've got a Blue Vine. We got a Fundbox. We've got credit lines available that we just leave there in case we need them. You should be too. The next thing is get loans for the strategic use of growth in your business, for innovation, for doing things that are going to help you leap above the competition, for acquisitions, for marketing strategy deployment. All of these kind of things are going to go a long way to help you to be able to actually not ever see a drop, to actually be able to have the money you need to grow your business. Now, don't forget, if you're really looking to grow your business, check out milliondollarbusinesschallenge.com. That's milliondollarbusinesschallenge.com. If you go to milliondollarbusinesschallenge.com, you'll see it's 100% free. And this whole challenge starts the last week of September. It's a 3-day challenge, and it teaches you every single thing you need to know to build your business to $1 million or higher. We've got all the experts coming in. They're going to teach you marketing. They're going to teach you branding. They're going to teach you sales conversion. They're going to teach you how to get money to grow your business. They're going to teach you other opportunities that are primary and secondary services you can offer to be able to make a lot of money right away. If you are trying to build yourself up to $1 million or more, or multiple millions, then this actually teaches you everything you need to know. And we bring in all the experts across multiple different industries to teach you from the ground up how to build the business where you can actually grow it and scale it to 7 figures. And by the way, 100% free challenge. All you have to do is go to milliondollarbusinesschallenge.com. You can also scan the QR code I have on the screen. Okay, so that being said, now you have a good idea of when to go get the money that you need. Make sure that you like and subscribe if you got value from this training. And I look forward to seeing you on our next training where we talk about more cool ways to get the money you need to start and grow your business. Take care.